Hi everyone, my name's Russell. This is me on the screen as well as here on the webcam. I'm creating this recording for any of you guys who didn't manage to be there for the in-person session that I had with you just before Christmas, or actually for those guys who were there on the in-person session and loved it so much that they want to hear me talk again, which maybe is not many of you, I'm sure. But hey, I hope it helps either way. Apologies as well for these giant headphones making me look a bit daft. I've had a bit of a technology fail when creating these recordings, and that's actually something we're going to talk about in the session. So I've broken these recordings down as well into 4 separate videos just to make it easier for you to kind of jump around to any particular subject that you want to. So you should have the link for each of those sessions. Now, without further ado, what I am here to talk to you about is how to present with more confidence. And I'm not just going to talk about confidence when it's, in terms of standing up in front of a live audience. That will be one thing that I'll talk about, but I'm also going to talk about confidence in our technology and a few other things as well. So I just want to mention who I am and my story. My name is Russell. I run a presentation design and training agency called The Presenter. And the reason for that is, like many people, and including you guys, I'm sure, I was kind of thrusted into the world of presenting without really having a clue what I was doing. So way back in 2007, I got a job as a training consultant, and it was just assumed that I knew how to present and that I knew how to use PowerPoint and things like that. And of course, that was a really bad assumption because I was bad at presenting. I made all the mistakes under the sun, and it was a really, really tough experience for me. But I did enjoy it quite sadistically. I did enjoy standing up in front of people and training them and helping them kind of understand concepts, ideas, and content. So by the time we got to sort of 2011, 2012, I'd really worked on those skills and I'd got a bit better at presenting. And then by around sort of 2016, I was what you would consider, I suppose, a good presenter. And that was, it was a couple of years before that that I actually started this agency. And I have to admit, I present an awful lot. I do all of our training with our clients. I do sessions like this, of course, with people like yourself. But I have to admit, hand on heart, that I'm still a work in progress. By no means do I think I am a perfectly polished presenter, and there are still things that I need to work on. It is a struggle. The struggle is real. So I really know where everyone's coming from, whether they've got, trouble with nerves before presenting or trouble with just not really understanding how to use PowerPoint or what makes a good looking slide. There's so many parts to it. So I'm hoping I can relate to a lot of that with you guys on this series of videos that I'm going to take you through. So what we're actually going to focus in on are these 4 areas: understanding your audience, engaging delivery techniques, overcoming nerves, and effective use of technology. Now, I'm going to just move myself over into the top right-hand corner here, so I'm a bit out of the way. And in the live session that I would have done with you guys, I actually make this an interactive slide. So it's at this stage when I ask you what you want to focus in on. And I've built this PowerPoint deck so that I can actually click to any of those sections and go through them. But for ease of going through these videos, I'll go through them in order. So this very first video will be about understanding the audience. So I'm going to click to go into that section, and that's the content that I'll focus on over the next 10 minutes or so. So a lot of people say to me, Russell, you've built presentations for a lot of big companies. You've done it for years and years now. Where do I start? And the response I always give them, I think, comes as a bit of a shock because this is my answer. You need to understand your audience. A lot of people run to PowerPoint as the very first thing they do when they know they've got a presentation coming up. And that's a huge mistake, because a presentation isn't just a bunch of PowerPoint slides. Hopefully you guys all appreciate that there is so much more to it than just PowerPoint slides or Prezi or whatever it is you decide to use. Now, in order for a presentation to be really successful, we need to have some kind of understanding of who it is we're talking to. And this is what I want to focus our attention on right now. And if you can do that, I'll talk about how you can do it and why it's important. But if you can do that, you will create a real connection with the audience. So, you know, if you just stand up in front of a brand new audience and you have no connection with them whatsoever because you haven't done your homework on who they are and what they're about, then there's just not going to be that kind of synergy there. And it'd be really difficult for you to add value to a room full of people that are thinking, yeah, this guy or this girl just doesn't really get us. So there's things that you can do to help with your understanding of the audience. So let me just give you a quick example. Let's imagine that we've been asked to deliver a training workshop to mid-level managers. Let's say it's about recruitment skills or whatever it may be. It really doesn't matter the subject, but that's the audience that we're aiming at. Now, one of the things that we could have done and should do before we go anywhere near PowerPoint, and especially before we even turn up on the day, is we need to understand their needs. Now, there's many ways that you can do that, but if you are delivering a training session, I do think it's a really good idea to send out a pre-training questionnaire. Now, of course, everyone's super busy and not everyone's going to fill in this questionnaire, and those that do might leave it to the last minute. But even if you can get a few responses from people before your training session, it should give you enough to help you understand exactly what the needs of the room are. Now, this isn't something that I do all the time. In fact, a lot of the time, I will just have a phone call with my main contact at the company I'm going to train. I'll drop a date in the diary to have a call with my main contact there, and I'll just kind of ask loads of questions about the people who are going to be in the training, what level they're at with PowerPoint or whatever it is I'm teaching them, and whether or not there's any kind of problem areas that they know about that we should really address. Because I've been delivering PowerPoint training for many, many years, and I could probably do it standing on my head with my eyes closed, but the session won't be very effective if there is a real pain point that company has that isn't covered in my session at all. Because I just think to myself, oh, I've done this a million times, they'll love it, it'll be great. We should never make that assumption. So anything we can do to understand their needs, like a questionnaire, like a phone call, like a meeting, whatever it may be, is a really, really good thing. Now, what that enables you to do as well, my third point here, is that you will then, of course, be able to tailor your content. And that's really what this is all about. So it's one thing to know what it is you're going to present about, but that will probably change for every single audience that you have in front of you. Okay, so again, just using my example, I go out and I deliver training on how to use PowerPoint, how to use Prezi, and sometimes there might be something really, really specific that doesn't come up very often. And if I haven't uncovered that need before I arrive there on the day, I either won't know about it at all and they won't get those questions answered, or it'll come up there in the session and I'll have to quickly think on my feet, which is never good. Okay, so tailoring your content is really, really important. And again, if you tailor your content, it's kind of a circle here. If you tailor your content, you are showing that you understand their needs, and that helps you build rapport with them and show you understand them. And there's a much kind of deeper level of trust then between you and your audience members. And if there's that level of trust and communication, they should engage with you more and they should learn more, or take in more of the content that you're delivering. So one of the things I always think to myself is, before I arrive there on the day, what would I want to know? So if I've done my kind of pre-training questionnaire, I've got some answers already, but then I think to myself, if I was them and I'm sat in the audience and these are some of my needs, I would probably want to see X. So just on a piece of paper, grab a pen and a paper right now, and I just want you to pause this video and think about the last training session you did that maybe wasn't very successful, or one you've got coming up. And I just want you to ask yourself that question of the audience. If I was them, I'd want to see, and then just fill in the blanks. There might be more than one answer to this, of course, but have a go at that exercise now. Okay, hopefully you've done that and that was a little bit illuminating for you. And I would definitely try and get in the habit of doing that before every single presentation you have. So tailoring your message is really, really important. You can tailor your message to hit those specific needs. And one of the things that you can do as well, when you know what those needs are, I would really recommend that you try and give some real life examples as much as possible. Because what that will do is it will really help bridge the gap between theory and practicality. And that's what people will really latch onto and remember. And that's what every presentation is for, right? You want people to remember your content. Now, they'll get an emotional connection from that, because hopefully if you give them a kind of practical example, maybe people you've worked with in the past, or some kind of case study that you've worked on, a project you've worked on, they'll gain a real emotional connection to that, because they'll be able to put themselves in the shoes of those people that you're talking about in that example. Now, you will see improved retention of your content in your audience if you do this. And there's a really simple reason. In brackets at the bottom there, I've put that reason. We all remember stories. So think about a presentation where you were in the audience, maybe a recent one, and in particular one that maybe had millions of bullet points in it, and maybe I'll talk about that in another video. We don't remember bullet points. It's really, really difficult to recall information when we've just been presented to and blasted with hundreds of different bullet points. But if we've had really good real life practical examples, and maybe stories about, here's an example of Joe Bloggs, and this is what they did to overcome this problem or this struggle, we will remember that. Human beings are wired to remember stories. So again, just going backwards a few steps here, if we've done that questionnaire, if we've uncovered some needs, we can then tailor our content. And in tailoring our content, we should try to add some real life examples, because everyone remembers stories. And what we've done there is we've not only built the trust and the rapport with the audience, we've given them something that is going to be much more impactful and easier for them to remember. That is the key to every presentation. That's why we do it. We want people to remember what it is they see. So just to wrap this first video up, understanding your audience is an ongoing process. Okay, so I'm still trying to understand my audience today. I'm not sure how good a job I'm doing sometimes, but I do my best. That's the point I'm trying to make. Do your best to understand your audience. It's really, really important. And it will continue to change because, of course, the environment changes, the way people are working changes. So your audience is always going to be changing. The younger generation are coming through now into management roles. So, there's a lot going on, and you can tailor your message in so many ways to make sure you can build that rapport, that connection, and just deliver a better message. Okay, so that is the most important thing I would say about starting a presentation, is understanding your audience. So I hope that's been useful, and I'm going to stop this video now, and I will see you on the second video when I'm going to cover engaging delivery techniques.